くりレ夢ムです。
ゆっくりマリサだぜ。
Hi, Raimo. Hi, Marissa. Hey guys. What the CIA is really looking for. The entry exam.
ゆっくりしていってね。
The hidden mystery of America's most secretive job application. Section 1. Hook. Somewhere in Northern Virginia, there is a building most Americans will never enter. It has no sign out front that tells you what it is. The address isn't listed in any public directory. The people who work there don't tell their neighbors what they do for a living. It is, by design, invisible. And every year, hundreds of thousands of Americans try to get inside. Most of them fail. Not because they're not smart. Not because they don't have the right skills. But because the CIA's hiring process is designed to find something that most job interviews never even think to measure. It's not looking for the best resume. It's not looking for the highest test score. It's looking for something much harder to fake, much harder to train, and much harder to define. And buried inside the CIA's application process, in its psychological evaluations, its strange written tests, its legendary polygraphs, are clues about what that something actually is. What does the CIA believe a perfect intelligence officer looks like? And how do you test for a quality that, by definition, no one is supposed to be able to see? Section 2. The story begins. Ivy League graduates. Men who spoke foreign languages. People who had existing connections in Europe and the Middle East. The culture was elite, exclusive, and operating largely on instinct and social trust. It worked, until it didn't. The Aldrich Ames case changed everything. Ames was a CIA officer, a career intelligence professional, a man who had passed every evaluation, every clearance review, every performance assessment for over 30 years. And for 9 of those years, he was selling the names of CIA assets to the Soviet Union. At least 10 people were executed because of what he told them. He drove a Jaguar to work. He lived in a house that cost more than his salary could explain. And nobody at the CIA noticed, or nobody asked, until it was catastrophically too late. After Ames, the CIA's hiring and vetting process was never the same again. The question the agency had to answer was brutal in its simplicity. How do you find a traitor before they've done anything wrong? Section 3. The evidence. Let's walk through what actually happens when someone applies to the CIA. Because unlike the FBI, the CIA has been even more secretive about its process. And the pieces that have become public through former officers, academic researchers, and the agency's own carefully controlled disclosures paint a picture that is genuinely fascinating. Stage 1. The online application and the first filter. The CIA's public website lists open positions across dozens of categories. Analysts, operations officers, scientists, engineers, linguists, accountants, lawyers. The application itself looks almost normal. Work history, education, references. They ask about your relationship with risk, about times you've had to make decisions with incomplete information, about how you handle situations where the rules didn't cover what you were facing. And crucially, they ask about your international experience, not as a box-checking exercise, but as a window. The CIA is looking for people who have already demonstrated comfort operating outside their own culture, people who have lived with ambiguity in unfamiliar places, people whose worldview has been expanded, tested, and complicated by actual contact with the world beyond America's borders. A candidate who has never left the country isn't automatically disqualified, but a candidate who has lived abroad, learned another language, navigated foreign bureaucracies, and built relationships across cultural lines. That person already has evidence of something the CIA needs desperately. Adaptability under real conditions, not just in theory. Stage 2. The written tests. If your application moves forward, you'll face a battery of written assessments. Some of them are cognitive, verbal reasoning, analytical thinking, the ability to read a dense document and extract the key information quickly. These are standard, but some of them are not standard at all. Former applicants have described scenarios presented as written exercises where there is no right answer, where every option involves a meaningful cost, where you have to explain not just what you do, but why, and what you'd be willing to sacrifice to do it. One commonly described exercise presents you with a covert operation that is going wrong. Resources are limited, time is short, and the choices available to you will each produce harm. The question is what kind, how much, and to whom. The CIA isn't testing whether you can find the perfect solution. There isn't one. It's testing how you reason when perfection is off the table. Here's something that surprises most people. The CIA actively recruits people who have failed. Not catastrophically, not ethically, but people who have started businesses that collapsed, taken risks that didn't pay off, navigated genuine adversity, and come out the other side with their integrity intact. Former recruiters have said this explicitly. The agency is more interested in how someone responded to failure than in their track record of success. Because in the field, things go wrong. Constantly. Irreversibly. An officer who has only ever succeeded has no tested framework for failure. They don't know what they'll do when the plan falls apart, because the plan has never fallen apart. The CIA needs to know before it sends you overseas in the dark. Stage. This is where the process becomes genuinely unusual. Every CIA operations officer candidate undergoes an extensive psychological evaluation conducted by licensed clinical psychologists on staff at the agency. It is not a personality quiz. It is not a checklist. It is a multi-hour, multi-session, deeply probing examination of your psychological architecture. The evaluators are looking for specific things: emotional stability, impulse control, resilience under sustained pressure, the ability to compartmentalize, to keep the work from destroying your personal life, and vice versa, without becoming so detached that you lose your moral compass. They're also looking for what they're not supposed to find: narcissism. The person who needs credit, who needs to be seen, who needs external validation. That person is a security risk. Not because they're bad, but because they're vulnerable. They can be manipulated through their need for recognition. Paranoia. The person who sees threats everywhere, useful in some contexts, catastrophic in an intelligence officer who needs to build genuine trust with foreign contacts. And perhaps most importantly, the inability to maintain a cover story. Because an operations officer in the field is not who they say they are. Every day, for years, they are performing a false identity while maintaining their real one. And the psychological cost of that, of living a lie while knowing the truth, is enormous. The evaluation is trying to determine whether you can carry that weight, without breaking, without slipping, without, at some moment of weakness or exhaustion, becoming someone different from either person you're supposed to be. Stage 4, the polygraph. The CIA polygraph is, by most accounts, more intensive than the FBI's. It runs longer, the questions go deeper, and the process is designed in ways that are only partially understood by the people taking it to generate stress. Not because the agency is cruel, but because stress is informative. How you respond when you're uncomfortable, when the questions become personal, when the examiner goes quiet for too long, when you feel the weight of the room, tells the evaluator things that your answers alone cannot. Former officers who have written about the experience describe a moment in almost every polygraph where the examiner asks about something so specific, so apparently minor, that it catches you off guard. A small lie, a detail you'd forgotten, a thing you'd never considered relevant. And in that moment of surprise, when your prepared answers suddenly don't apply, the real you shows up. The CIA knows this. The polygraph is partially theater, and the best examiners are, in a very real sense, intelligence officers themselves, running a quiet operation against you to see how you respond. But here's the contradiction that makes this entire process complicated. The CIA is trying to hire people who are good at deception. That's not an insult. It's a job requirement. An operations officer running an asset in a foreign country must be able to lie convincingly, maintain a false identity without cracking, and manipulate relationships in service of a larger mission. The agency needs people who are good at being someone they're not. And then it puts those same people through an evaluation process designed to strip away their ability to be someone they're not. You must be an excellent deceiver, and you must be completely honest with us about everything. That tension between the skills the job requires and the transparency the hiring process demands is never fully resolved. It's just managed carefully for as long as the relationship between officer and agency holds. When it stops holding, when the deception turns inward, you get Aldrich Ames. Stage 5, the background investigation. Like the FBI, the CIA conducts an exhaustive background investigation. But there are differences, and they matter. The CIA's background process goes further into foreign contacts. Every relationship with a non-US citizen is examined. The nature of it, the frequency, the context. This is not xenophobia, it's operational logic. A foreign asset can be a tool or a vulnerability. The agency needs to know which for every relationship in your life. They also go further into financial history. Not just looking for corruption, but looking for vulnerability. Someone deeply in debt is a target. Someone with a secret addiction is a target. Someone with a family member in legal trouble is a target. Intelligence agencies, foreign ones, know this. They look for the same vulnerabilities that the CIA is trying to screen for. The background investigation is, in part, a preemptive search for the handles that an adversary could grab. One former CIA officer put it simply, they're not asking whether you've done anything wrong. They're asking whether there's anything that could be used against you. That's a fundamentally different question, and it requires a fundamentally different kind of honesty to answer. Section 4, the theories. So what is the CIA actually building with this process? What philosophy underlies the way it selects the people who will carry America's most sensitive secrets? There are several frameworks worth examining. Theory 1. The CIA is engineering for loyalty. The most cynical reading of the CIA's hiring process is that its primary function is not to find the best intelligence officers. It's to find the most controllable ones. Under this theory, the psychological screening, the background investigation, the polygraph, all of it is oriented toward one goal: identifying people whose loyalty to the institution can be relied upon. People who have too much to lose to betray the agency. People whose psychological profile makes them unlikely to go rogue, blow cover, or become whistleblowers. The strength of this theory, it explains certain patterns in the agency's history. The CIA has sometimes failed to anticipate geopolitical crises not because it lacked good information, but because officers were reluctant to tell leadership things it didn't want to hear. The weakness, loyalty, and obedience are not the same thing. The agency's most celebrated officers, the ones who changed history, were frequently the ones who pushed against institutional orthodoxy. Theory 2. The CIA is building psychological shock absorbers. The second theory is more sympathetic. It holds that the CIA's hiring process is, at its core, a mental health intervention. Intelligence work is extraordinarily hard on people. Long deployments, dangerous environments, isolation, the moral weight of decisions that affect lives, the inability to tell anyone, spouse, parent, friend, what you actually do. The agency has learned, through decades of painful experience, that officers who break down in the field create catastrophic risks, not just for themselves, but for the assets who depend on them, the operations they're running, and the colleagues around them. Under this theory, the psychological evaluation isn't screening for competence. It's screening for durability. The process is trying to predict who will still be functioning, morally, emotionally, professionally, after 10 years of doing something most humans could not. Theory 3. The CIA is selecting for a kind of moral flexibility. This theory comes from former officers and academics, and it's the most uncomfortable one. The argument goes like this. The CIA, by the nature of its mission, sometimes requires people to do things that, in any other context, would be considered wrong. Lying, manipulation, running operations that end in violence, making decisions that trade one harm for a larger benefit. The selection process, for all its emphasis on honesty and integrity, is ultimately selecting for people who can live with moral complexity, not people who have never done anything wrong. People who have done imperfect things, acknowledged them, and kept functioning. The ideal CIA officer, under this framework, is not a saint. They are someone whose moral architecture is strong enough to bear the weight of genuinely difficult choices, and flexible enough to make them when the mission demands it. That is not a comfortable thing to say, but it may be an honest one. Section 5. The most likely answer to "here's what I think the evidence points to" when you step back and look at the whole picture. The CIA's hiring process isn't designed around any single theory. It's designed around a problem, the oldest problem in intelligence, that has never been fully solved. How do you know who to trust with a secret? Not in a moment, not in a good interview, not even across a battery of tests and evaluations. The CIA's answer, refined over 70 years and multiple catastrophic failures, is this: you can't know for certain, but you can dramatically narrow the odds. You can look for people whose internal life matches their external presentation. You can look for people who have been tested by real adversity and didn't become bitter or broken. You can look for people who are honest about their weaknesses, because self-deception is the most dangerous trait in a covert officer. And you can look for people who understand, going in, what they're signing up for. Not the glamour, not the mythology, the actual weight of living a life where the work you're most proud of will never appear on your resume, where the people you've protected will never know your name, where the decisions you carry with you will stay classified long after you're gone. The CIA isn't just screening for skills, it's screening for a kind of vocation, a willingness to do important work invisibly. That is, when you think about it, one of the rarest human qualities there is. Section 6. Conclusion. There's a wall inside CIA headquarters in Langley, Virginia. On it are carved 140 stars, one for each CIA officer who died in service. Below it is a book of honor, where some of the names are listed. Some of them are still blank. The names classified, even in death. Those blank entries are the most honest thing about the agency. More honest than any press release. More honest than any recruitment brochure. They say, some people gave everything for a mission that the public will never fully know, for an outcome that may never be fully understood, and received in return only a star on a wall in a building most Americans will never enter. The CIA's hiring process, for all its strange questions and psychological tests and deceptive polygraphs, is ultimately trying to find people who are okay with that. People who don't need the credit. People who can carry a secret not just for years, but forever. People who find meaning in work that the world may never acknowledge. I don't know if a polygraph can find that. I don't know if any psychological test can. But I do know that every year, thousands of people walk into the process willingly. They answer the hard questions. They sit through the evaluations. They allow strangers to examine every corner of their lives. And some of them, a very small number, walk out the other side as something the rest of us will never fully see. There's a question I keep coming back to at the end of this investigation. We talk a lot about what the CIA looks for in people, but I wonder about the reverse. What kind of person looks at a job like this, invisible, classified, morally complex, and potentially dangerous, and thinks, yes, that's the one I want? Because whatever they're looking for in that person, it has to start with something most of us don't fully have. If the CIA called you tomorrow, what part of the application process do you think you'd struggle with most? Tell us in the comments. * subscribe for more investigations into the hidden systems and secret histories shaping the world.